Hey everybody, Stan Efferding here, founder of the Vertical Diet. It's time for another 10 Talk while I take my 10-minute walk. Thanks for keeping me company. I have to start by thanking everyone for a hugely successful rollout of the Vertical Diet meal prep. We delivered over 25,000 meals in our first month, with free shipping to all 48 of the continental US states. And the feedback on the quality and taste of the meals has been amazing. Thank you. One of the many important things I discuss in the Vertical Diet and I focus on with my clients is gut health. Now this is an endless discussion, exploring a vast, ever-changing universe inside each and every one of us, spanning from our mouth to our colon. Now, like a lot of people in the industry, I've been outspoken about the types of foods I believe will benefit digestion and improve metabolism and performance, as well as those foods I think people should avoid. And I go into great detail about them in the Vertical Diet. But what if you could eat almost anything and not suffer from gas, bloating, irritable bowel, and leaky gut? What if many common diseases only become diseases when proper digestion is impaired? And how does poor digestion trigger autoimmune disorders, where your own body attacks itself? Poor digestion can have many possible side effects, such as allergies, anemia, candida, even cardiac arrhythmias. Of course, there's celiac disease and irritable bowel syndrome, but digestion also affects asthma symptoms and can lead to Graves' or Hashimoto's disease, which is hyper and hypothyroidism. Poor digestion can impair absorption of micronutrients like calcium and potassium, which can cause osteoporosis and rheumatoid arthritis as well. Now, this is hardly a novel concept. Over 2,000 years ago, Hippocrates is credited for saying, "All disease begins in the gut." Now, what if these diseases and many others are just manifestations or side effects of a much simpler problem that you could possibly fix? How is it that teenagers are much less likely to suffer from many of these problems? How are they able to consume a large pepperoni pizza and chase it with an ice cream sundae with relative impunity, while the same transgression by their parents often requires them to swallow a family-sized bottle of Tums afterwards? Now, as we age, many things decrease, such as hormones like thyroid and testosterone. Nutrient deficiencies become more common, such as anemia and low calcium, vitamin D, and B12. Many of us get supplements or injections from doctors to remedy these deficiencies. It just so happens that the hydrochloric acid in your stomach also decreases as we age, which results in poor digestion and absorption of nutrients. Now, hydrochloric acid is very powerful, and along with pepsin, it breaks down the proteins we consume and helps us to absorb minerals, and it kills bacteria before they reach the intestines. Unfortunately, sometimes this acid comes in contact with the esophagus and causes a painful burning sensation, and this is called gastroesophageal reflux disease, or acid reflux, which can cause heartburn. Now, acid reflux is the #1 digestive disorder in America. Acid reflux is serious, and it can cause ulcers and esophageal cancer if left untreated. Now, you might think acid reflux is caused by too much stomach acid, but just the opposite is true. The vast majority of people suffering from heartburn have low stomach acid. Studies dating back almost 100 years have shown that gastric acid output declines with age, while the incidence of acid reflux increases. Now, strong stomach acid and pepsin quickly emulsify fats and proteins in the stomach and prepares them for passage into the small intestine. When there is low acid and digestion is weak, food remains in the stomach longer and begins to ferment. Gas from fermentation causes bloating and discomfort and can also cause the esophageal sphincter to open, allowing stomach acids to splash into the esophagus. The lower esophageal sphincter, or LES, is a muscle that is supposed to prevent stomach acids from getting into the esophagus. Caffeine can cause this muscle to relax, which impairs its ability to prevent acid reflux. Obesity, inadequately chewed food, and overeating can also compromise the LES ability to close. Now, this burning sensation causes many people, including doctors, to assume that excess acid is to blame, when in fact it's too little acid, resulting in slow digestion and gas, which creates back pressure into the esophagus, and that's the real cause of most heartburn. Yet we attempt to treat low stomach acid with antacids, when we should be focused on increasing our stomach acid and lowering the pH of that acid to improve digestion. Now, up until about the 1950s, hydrochloric acid supplements were prescribed by physicians to replace low stomach acid. Now, that was until drug companies began patenting antacids and proton pump inhibitors such as Nexium, Prilosec, and Tums, which has now become a $15 billion a year industry. Now, chronic use of antacids can have dangerous and even deadly consequences. Antacids cause malabsorption of vital nutrients such as calcium, magnesium, zinc, and iron, to name a few. Now, this is due to low stomach acid. Antacids also prevent the stomach from killing pathogens that enter the stomach, and that allows bacteria to reach the small intestine. Now, undigested proteins and carbohydrates also end up in the small intestine, where they can cause gas, bloating, leaky gut, bacterial overgrowth, and fungal infections, such as candida. Now, HCl is not advised for people who have ulcers, but it's important to recognize that you become more susceptible to ulcers when you use antacids and have a low acid environment in your stomach. H. pylori attaches itself to the stomach wall and releases ammonia, which increases pH, so they can thrive and grow in your stomach. Now, this is how ulcers occur. Now, in this case, you have to kill the H. pylori first in order for the ulcers to heal, and then reestablish a healthy acid level to prevent them from coming back. Now, antacids were only intended to be taken for a short period of time to correct problems such as ulcers, never to be taken for years. Now, there's a medical test that can be performed to measure stomach acid called the Heidelberg Test, which you can ask your doctor to perform. It involves swallowing a sensor to test the amount of stomach acid. Now, a less invasive method is to take an HCl pepsin capsule immediately before or during a meal and seeing how your body responds. If you feel a burning sensation or discomfort, then you have enough stomach acid. If not, take 2 pills with the next meal and add a pill each meal until you feel discomfort. Then you back down a pill, and that becomes your maintenance dose of HCl and pepsin. Now, over time, you may feel discomfort at that dose, and you may need to back down another pill as your body improves its acid secretion. And another option is to drink a tablespoon of apple cider vinegar with a couple ounces of water before a meal. Now, ideally, the problem could be corrected with dietary changes that optimize digestion. The vertical diet is designed to improve digestion and reduce gas and bloating in a number of ways. Salting your meals. Salt is sodium chloride. Stomach acid is hydrochloric acid. Iodine also plays an important role in hydrochloric acid production. That's one of the reasons I include it in my diet. Consuming animal meats. That triggers hydrochloric acid production. 80% of gastric acid secreted is a direct result of chemoreceptors in the stomach detecting the presence of meat-based proteins. Now, this keeps the stomach at a very low pH, around 1 to 2. A low pH means high acidity. Digestive enzymes work best in an acidic environment. Minerals are absorbed better, and the acid sterilizes pathogens, bacterial or fungal. Now, sometimes a client will tell me they're having a hard time digesting red meat, and I tell them that could be a problem. Not because I care if they eat red meat or not, but unless they've been bitten by a Lone Star tick causing a meat allergy, it usually means they have low stomach acid, which will make it hard to properly digest and absorb nutrients from any foods that they eat, not just red meat. Now, don't drink too much water during meals, particularly alkalized water, which dilutes stomach acid and raises the pH. Avoid high-gas vegetables and grains like bread, pancakes, pizza, and pasta. That can cause bloating and gas. Eat low-gas vegetables and fermented grains instead. Now, that's not to say you have to avoid all carbohydrates. Hawthorne Shaw consume over 1,000 grams of carbs a day to fuel their mass and high workload. But their digestion's improved considerably because they now avoid the types of carbs that cause gas and bloating. Now, many of us also have to avoid sugar alcohols, garlic, and other high FODMAP foods that cause gas and bloating. And of course, there's always the highly controversial coffee addiction. And that can cause acid reflux by relaxing the lower esophageal sphincter, as well as creating a laxative effect in diarrhea by speeding up gastric emptying. Now, our bodies need about 60 essential nutrients, and these nutrients must be obtained from diet because the body cannot manufacture them. Many of these essential nutrients require stomach acid for their assimilation. When stomach acid production declines, nutrient deficiencies begin, and health and performance suffer. Remember, we are not what we eat. We are what we digest and absorb. Well, that's about the end of my walk and my 10 talk. I've received hundreds of testimonials from people all over the world who have completely eliminated antacids and whose health and performance has improved as a result of the vertical diet, which I've made available on my website at stanefferding.com and theverticaldiet.com. I'd love to hear your testimonial. I'll post it to help others. Thank you for listening.